No. You rise to the occasion. Experience comes with age, and I've been hearing a lot about age, you know.
We are now, and I finally get to check that off my list, and I knew this was going to be a big fight. The build-up for this is huge. The press conferences are entertaining. It's a spectacle.
With only 17 days before the big Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, the pressure is getting stronger. Both fighters are training harder than ever. Joshua is working on his power, timing, and footwork, while Jake is pushing himself with tough conditioning to stay in the game. Every training session counts now, and the feeling around the fight gets more serious as the days tick down.
Continues.
Pace, and I have nothing but love for him, but I'm going to knock him out respectfully, and you know, we can hug and kiss afterwards, specifically kiss.
Anthony Joshua's training camp for his fight with Jake Paul is fully active, and this time it's very different because he switched to a new camp. He hasn't fought since his knockout loss in September 2024 and the elbow surgery that came after, so this camp feels even more important. He's working on conditioning, technique, footwork, and ring skills with Usyk's coaches to become sharper and smarter. Joshua says the change is big and training with a new team has pushed him harder both physically and mentally. He's using this time to rebuild his confidence, strengthen his skills, and get ready for what could be a very important comeback. Anthony Joshua starts his mornings with tough ice baths to make his body stronger and help him recover faster. The freezing water reduces swelling, keeps his muscles fresh, and builds his mental toughness. He believes these cold sessions help him focus and get ready for the hard training he does later in the day. This strict routine shows how serious he is about staying strong and fully prepared for the fight. Anthony Joshua trains in a place built on discipline, precision, and constant improvement. With skilled coaches focused on sharp technique and smart strategy, he approaches every session with purpose. His drills aim to tighten his attacks and build a defense that reacts fast. The coaches watch his rhythm, footwork, and punch choices, pushing him to break old habits. People watching can see how seriously he takes every correction. Instead of depending only on his natural power, he works on understanding angles, distance, and counterpunching. His movements become more controlled as he switches between defense and quick counter shots. This camp helps him grow not just physically but mentally, sharpening his instincts for the unpredictable moments of heavyweight boxing.
That's what he's trying to do though, Simon. I think he's at that stage of his career where he's trying to rediscover a little bit of that confidence. He's gone to Alexander Usyk, where we're hearing reports he's out there, training with Usyk and the team, trying to pick up something, trying to rediscover something.
That's very strange, Paul, isn't it?
It is, but it's not unheard of. I've heard of a lot of fighters doing that. You see fighters, obviously, it's the old Rocky movies years ago, but you see a fighter losing to someone, all of a sudden they go in the camp and they start training and do a little bits together and become friends or whatever else. I think it'll do Joshua no harm travelling, but as you say, he's a little bit long in the tooth and he's a bit on the back nine rather than the front nine, where that experience would really come into play. But I'm just looking at his record here. He obviously, after the Usyk fight, he'd come back and he had 3 fights and then the Ngannou demolition
Well,
job.
yeah, Jermaine Franklin, he had Robert Helene, he had Otto Wallin, and he smashed Ngannou, which everyone went hallelujah for, right?
Yeah, but he's obviously not in like the box rec rankings to see where he is. But the Dubois fight is a fight where, what you've just said then, Spencer, like, match him right. I felt he was match right with Dubois. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I was wrong on that and I was proved wrong, but I felt like Joshua would have and should have came through that, but he obviously didn't. So therefore, it's back to the drawing board, and where do you go from there? What do you do from there? Does he keep the same team around him? Does he go and find someone new and try and adapt and add to his repertoire already? And this move at Usyk, I don't know what it'll be, but if he's fighting before Christmas, then he needs to get in shape quick because there's only 8 weeks to go, let's say.
Well, my understanding, he's in camp, he's in shape, and just looking to getting out and get back to winning ways is my understanding. That's why they're talking about 8 rounders.
Yeah.
He wants to sort of go under the radar a little bit, and it's difficult for someone like Anthony Joshua because he's such
Very
a
much so.
commercial commodity.
He's always been in shape all the time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He always will be in shape. He's never, ever not been...
But it's not about his
dedicated.
physical shape, is it? No one's ever questioned his physical state. Zach, when I was talking about Anthony Joshua, and I know that the president of his fan club is here in Spencer, but I talked about the PTSD issue post various fights, whether it be the Alexander Usyk or the Daniel Dubois situation. But prior to Daniel Dubois, I always maintained that I felt that despite the performance against Jermaine Franklin, despite the performance against Robert Helenius, which had been blasted out by Deontay Wilder, and we've seen what Deontay Wilder is now.
Eddie Hearn takes this fight very seriously because he knows how important it is for Joshua's future. He understands that this match is about more than bragging rights. It could shape the rest of Joshua's career. Hearn is honest that losing a fight like this would bring big questions about whether Joshua should keep going. But even with all this pressure, Hearn still believes strongly in him. He thinks Joshua's hard work over the past months has rebuilt his discipline and sharpened his focus. From conditioning to sparring, Joshua has trained like a championship fight is on the line. Hearn says this serious mindset is why he believes Joshua will step up when it matters. People watching his training say he looks calm, focused, and more driven than before. Even with all the pressure, Joshua keeps pushing forward and facing the challenge head-on.
On record saying that you and AJ must retire if Jake Paul wins on December 19th. Stand by that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I suppose so. Shit, yeah. Look, I don't see a world where Jake Paul wins this fight. I know that boxing's boxing. I mean, what was it? Roy Jones came out this morning and said Jake Paul can win this fight.
Teddy Atlas as well.
Teddy Atlas? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, now I'm a bit worried. I won't retire. AJ should retire if he loses, no.
Sorry.
No, I see AJ winning this fight with ease, comprehensively, destructively, violently, and I don't see a world where Jake Paul is competitive in the fight, let alone win the fight. But luckily, AJ's not preparing in a way that he just thinks it's a joke. He's preparing for Jake Paul like he's a world title contender. Yes, it's been a little bit of a shorter camp. Yes, we've got to make weight this time around, but it doesn't matter. We should just slide through this guy and bash him up and beat him up, and we should do it early doors.
Just lastly, you said as well that you told Nikisa that he was weighing 290 when you were negotiating. What impact did that have? Did you feel like they would have gone even lower if they knew he was weighing 265?
No, I mean, I don't think that when you're negotiating on a weight, there's not one promoter in the world that would tell the truth about what the weight of the fighter was, and Nikisa knows that anyway. So it wasn't like we were being clever, but they wanted him to come to 240. And it's just, don't forget, AJ's never made weight before. So all of a sudden, he's tried, he'd been in camp for, 2 or 3 weeks. And he's probably sitting at, 260, 265. And it's like, you got to make 245. It's 20 pounds.
One big reason Joshua feels confident is the level of sparring partners he has brought into camp. Videos show him training with top heavyweight fighters who all have different strengths. Jared Anderson, known for his power and non-stop pace, makes Joshua stay sharp on defense. He tests every reaction and punishes any slow movement, forcing Joshua to stay focused from start to finish. Frank Sanchez gives a different challenge with his smooth, technical style. He moves around the ring with balance, slips punches, and makes Joshua think fast, fix his footwork, and be more strategic. These sparring sessions aren't just physical. They prepare Joshua for real, top-level competition. Each partner brings pressure Jake Paul has never experienced. Their different styles help Joshua build a complete plan based on timing, accuracy, and quick tactical changes.
Jake Paul is being dwarfed by these way bigger heavyweights like Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, and Lawrence Okolie. Okolie is like 6'4.5", 6'5", and these guys are like 6'3", 6'4", probably. So now Jake Paul is the one that's smaller. So first of all, I will give credit to Jake Paul. Clearly, he's a person who is taking his career seriously. These are quality sparring. I mean, a real boxer, because people say he's not a real boxer, but a real boxer would be using the same guys in their sparring camp. In fact, I just told you Joshua used Lawrence Okolie. I don't know if he sparred with Anderson or Frank Sanchez, but these are all regular ranked heavyweights. So credit to Jake Paul for that. And I mean, he's going to need it. Joshua is a different breed to, like, you know, a Mike Perry when it comes to boxing. Different frame, different size. In case you didn't believe me, right? Jake Paul, this is what MVP Promotions posted. So Jake Paul top sparring, right? Heavyweights. And here's some pictures of Joshua with Lawrence Okoli. And again, Joshua, a big dude, but you see Lawrence Okoli, and he probably was cruiserweight back then. I mean, I don't know exactly when this picture was taken, but he's only like an inch shorter than Anthony Joshua. And now, as he's moved up to the full heavyweight, he has filled out more. You see, he looks even bigger than when he was a cruiserweight. Now, I got to research it, but I want to say I thought Lawrence Okoli was injured.
Tony Jeff looks at Jake Paul's boxing journey as someone who has watched him improve over the years. He knows Jake started with very little skill, but slowly put in the hard work needed to get better. Jeff points out how Jake's basics have improved: his punching form, his sense of distance, and his discipline in training. He gives Jake credit for learning from experienced coaches and pushing himself much more than people expected from a beginner. Jeff says that anyone who thinks Jake hasn't improved simply hasn't watched how far he has come.
As they get older. Now, a problem for Anthony Joshua is his activity. He's only fought twice in 2 years, and one of them he got knocked out off Daniel Dubois. That was his last fight, and a lot of people say you can only judge a fighter's quality from their last fight. And then the fight before that was a win, but it was a win against Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, if you know, he was the UFC heavyweight who's not a real boxer, and he only had one fight before that boxing fight, what he lost as well. So that's his activity in boxing. Now, Jake Paul, on the other hand, looking at his box rec, he's had 6 fights since 2023. And one of them was against Mike Tyson. But we all seen what happened in that fight. Mike Tyson was well past his prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, but I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime, because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched. And I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pounds versus 252 pounds. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights, and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua, because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through and switch them to 12s?
Professional fighter Lamont Roach sees Jake's decision as brave but very risky. He understands why Jake wants the fight. Jake has built his name by surprising people and proving doubters wrong. Roach says the fight is huge financially and gives Jake a rare chance so early in his career. He also sees that Jake loves shock value, and facing someone as strong and big as Joshua fits that image. But Roach reminds people that courage needs common sense too. Joshua has real heavyweight power, and that takes more than confidence to handle. Roach respects Jake's determination, but warns that this step is dangerous, no matter how good the money looks.
Excuse me. My first thoughts was, this guy's crazy. Not gonna lie. But I get it. Coming from a guy who's not a true traditional boxer, and to be able to have a position where he can fight a former unified world champion, former Olympic gold medalist, and to do it on such a stage where Anthony Joshua was a superstar as well. I mean, like, he sold out the O2, twice,
Absolutely.
I think. So, I think Jake is setting himself up for, a huge spectacle, and which is, kind of smart. If you're going to go big, why not go to the highest of the mountain? Why not? And I get it. That's what you call business right there. And I seen a lot of guys calling them out, from like Gabe to, other guys who are
Berlanga.
boxers. Yeah, like guys who actually beat them. But why would he settle for those guys when he could fight Anthony Joshua? So I think that's smart. I think that's super smart.
Smart is one thing. What do you think happens in the ring, though, champ?
I think he gets hurt for sure. I think he gets obliterated. Something close to like Francis Ngannou. I think something like that happens, and it's going to be bad for him. But there will be a lot of viewers.
Chael Sonnen looks at the situation with clear honesty, asking if Jake is showing real courage or jumping into something that doesn't make sense. Sonnen respects that Jake is willing to face tough opponents, but he questions why Jake would choose someone as big and powerful as Joshua. He explains that bravery can become dangerous when the preparation doesn't match the challenge. Taking risks can be good, but taking the wrong kind of risks is dangerous, especially in a sport where one moment can change everything.
Trick in the bar, the Francis Ngannou performance. What if Jake makes it 5 rounds, 6 rounds? What if Jake made it to the distance? What if Jake won a round? Now, it's very hard to believe. It's very hard to imagine. I think it's the big struggle with this fight. I cannot, off the top of my head, produce a fight for you in any form of unarmed combat that drew, that was exciting, where the audience did not have a reasonable expectation, an expectation to some degree that, well, if he does this or that, there is a way for this guy to win. And that's usually pretty easy to do because nobody knows anything about fighting. Nobody watching this right now, none of you, my millions of viewers, not one of you has ever boxed. Not one of you knows someone in the family. Well, my dad was a boxer. My uncle was a boxer. No, you don't. Not only are you not a boxer, you don't even know of a boxer. Now, I only share that because when I come out and say nobody knows what they're talking about when they're talking about boxing, like, it's not meant to be an insult. You don't know anything about boxing. It was never taught to you. None of you in recess boxed. None of your junior highs, your high schools, your colleges, your community colleges offered boxing. Your hometown didn't have a boxing gym. Now really think about that. Because as much as you love the sport and as much as you think that you understand it, not only do you not understand it, you can't even have a conversation with other people who do because they don't understand it. So what is a win? I think that time counts. I think that time is a very big deal. You're in that little bitty ring, and I know a guy can run backwards, but running backwards is not illegal in boxing. It is in wrestling.
Angelo and Josh focus on the basics of boxing. They say the sport has levels that take years of practice, discipline, and fighting top opponents to reach. Jake Paul is still learning, while fighters like Joshua and Deontay Wilder are at the top, with huge power, sharp technique, and years of experience. They say Joshua is the kind of fighter whose presence alone changes a fight. With his timing and power, he can end a match in a single moment, even if the other fighter seems in control.
I just don't think that he could compete at the highest level, and I don't think he'd beat the top 5, top 6 guys. But that in that weight class is where he'd be at, like say 180, 188 or 189, somewhere around there is where he'd probably compete. There's not a lot of talent there though. So he might be pretty good in those weight classes. Him competing in the heavyweight division against like Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or anybody else, no. He gets annihilated. I'm very surprised he signed this fight.
I was shocked he signed this fight. I texted my buddy Bo because Bo follows boxing really well, and I texted him. I was like, dude, we might see a death. And he said the same thing. He's like, I cannot believe he agreed to that fight. But the numbers, the numbers that are, nobody knows the true payouts. They're saying it's around $200 million that they're splitting evenly. So they're getting about $100 million each. He said that it was $267 million. So I don't know who you believe or don't believe, or it could be they're splitting 200 and the 67 delta, they had to pay DAZN because Anthony Joshua has a contract with DAZN. And this fight's going to be on Netflix. DAZN.
It's DAZN.
So they, which makes, how the hell?
Please stop saying DAZN, okay?
DAZN.
That's like Saint Benoit, okay?
Where's the O in DAZN?
It's DAZN.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one.